everyone, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card with the club set for the month of January from the Stamps of Life, and this is the FishTank2Stamp set, and that's this one here, and it includes this large fish tank and these cute little fish, a starfish. Here's some more fish, and you can just see all the fun things or some bubbles that are included in that. The sentiments are thank you. You are fantastic. That is, you can say that is fantastic. And there is I fish you a great birthday. And then there is the More for Fish Tank set, which includes all of these additional fun fish. There's also some turtles. There's a little castle that you can include in the fish tank, and sentiments. You are officially awesome. Any fin is possible. The gang misses you. You are a great catch. Just keep swimming. Something seems fishy, and hey you. There are also dies. So you have the dies for the fish tank. You also have, there's dies available for each of the stamp sets. So there's so many possibilities with this set. I think this is so adorable. So you can actually use these fish and these little items in the tank, or if you want to do a card with them without the fish tank, you can do that as well. So I'm going to be doing some stamping for my card today, and I stamped out the large fish tank, and I'm going to be creating a scene within the fish tank. And I did stamp it out with my Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto some Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth cardstock because I'm going to be doing some alcohol marker coloring. And I am going to also create a mask for my fish tank so that I can stamp images into, for example, the sand. I know that I want the sand castle to be into the sand. I didn't want it to be on top of the sand. I want it to look like it's buried in the sand. So I need to mask that off. So what I've done is I've taken this die, this is the fish tank die, not the shadow layer, it's the inside, and I die cut just a piece of cardstock, and that will fit perfectly right over top of the stamped image. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just use some washi tape and mask this off. Now, you've probably, if you've been watching some of my videos in the past, I have a few times done some masking with masking paper, but I'm not using masking paper for my technique today. Instead, I'm just using regular cardstock. I'm going to start out with my, I don't know what this is called, the little leaves that are coming up. I don't know if there's a fancy name for them. So I'm going to stamp that out. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and then I'm going to stamp that out just right along the side. I actually did a test run here, so you can see there's some ink here. But I'm going to make sure that the bottom of the stamped image is stamped into the sand, and a little bit on the side is stamped here on the side. Because what happens when I remove my mask, it's just going to look like it's blending into the fish tank. It's not going to look like it's a separate object. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this out. So there's that, and then I'm going to take my sand castle and I'm going to put that one right next to it. So I just made sure that I put it a little bit into that sand area so that it looks like it's kind of buried into the sand and not sitting on top of it. So there's that. So I'm going to stamp out some rocks, and I'm just going to put these along the bottom. I probably should have put that a little bit further down. All right, so here's another one. I'm going to do it a little bit further down. We'll see how that looks. Don't know how that's going to look, but we'll see. I think we'll put another one of the leaves in here. So now when I take my mask off, or my cardstock piece off, just be careful when you're removing your washi tape, but you're eventually gonna die cut this out anyway. But isn't that cute? So look at that. Look at that little scene, and now you can color that. Isn't that cute? I love that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to voiceover for the rest of this video, and I'm going to start out by now showing my coloring of the fish tank. And I'm using my Copic markers, and I'm taking my lightest blue, which is my B00, and coloring all of the water. So everything in the fish tank with the exception of the castle and the fish and all of that. So the whole background there is blue, is the B00. Then I'm going to come in at the very bottom and take my dark blue, which is my B05, and I color a little bit of the dark blue at the bottom, then go to the B04 on up to the B02. So again, light over the whole thing, and then starting with the bottom, go from dark to light all the way to the top. So we went from the B05 at the very bottom to the B04, B02, B01 is now what you see, and just blending all of those blues together. And then the last color will be the B00 again, just to blend all of that together. So that is how I did my water for the fish tank. And then once all that is finished, I will go into coloring the fish as well as the castle and all the other elements there of the fish tank. And if you feel like you need to blend any of those darker colors together, just take one of your lighter Copic markers and come back in and color between some of the harsh lines to just blend some of that together. So next up I'm going to color the sand, and I am going to be coloring over the whole thing in E42, which is my lightest brown that I'm going to be using. And then I'm going to come in with my E47 and just color just along the top edge of that sand. Then I'm going to come in with my E43 and just blend the E47 with the E42, so that's just another layer there. And then I'm going to come back in with my E47 and just apply a bunch of dots using the tip of my marker, just a whole bunch of dots to add some texture to this sand. I'm going to do the same thing with my E44, adding another layer of dots. And the same thing then with my E43, adding some more lighter dots, and you can see all of the texture that this gives. And then I'm going to come in with my E42 and just kind of blend some of that together. And then I'm going to move on to my leaves, starting out with the YG03. That would be my base color, and then I'm going to go into my YG09, which is my dark, and I'm going to use my dark at the very bottom of those leaves. Then come in with my YG07 just to blend the YG09 and 7 together, and then YG05 and YG03. Then coming into the castle with some pinks, I wanted to brighten up this fish tank, so I wanted to use some pinks, and I'll also be bringing in some purples. So for the pinks, I'm going to use 3 pinks. It's the RV15 as my dark, RV13 as my midtone, and RV11 as my light. So just coloring up the castle there. Now I do want to reiterate that when you're coloring with your Copic markers, you will need to use an alcohol-proof ink, and I did use the Memento black ink, and I have a link to it in the description box because you want to make sure that your alcohol markers do not smear with the ink from your ink pad. So here I am coloring in my well, not my blues, my purples, and I'm using my B79 as my dark. I also use B66, 63, and B60. So we have a pink and purple castle. And then also when you're coloring with your alcohol markers, you want to make sure that your paper is an alcohol friendly paper, and the paper that I use is the Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth cardstock. And that just allows for a better blending of your alcohol markers. And now you can use alcohol markers to color these up. I have used the Copics here. You can use your Arteza Everblend markers. You can use your Spectrum Noir markers. You can even use colored pencils. You can use real brush pens, whatever you choose, whatever your favorite coloring medium is to color up this scene. So here I'm coloring the fish, and this particular fish is using my yellows. I have the Y11, Y13, 15, and 17 for my fish. So I am making this fish a yellow and orange fish, and then the larger fish is going to be orange and green. And for my orange colors, I've used the YR04 and YR07. So you don't always need to use a 3-color blend, especially when you have smaller images. You can just use 2 colors, and depending on how small, if they're really small, you can get away with just using 1 color. And for the greens on the fish, I just used some of the same greens that I used for the leaves in the fish tank. And then I'm going to come in and color up my rocks. And for my rocks, I'm using the E04 and E07. I am putting some dots on there just to add some more texture. I also come in with my C9 and I just color over the black part of the fish tank. I think that it makes that color a little bit more vibrant from where the ink pad initially put that black. And then I'm coming in and coloring the sides because I did forget to do these sides, which we need water here as well. So I'm just coming in with those same B colors and just coloring up some water there on the sides to give this more of a 3D look. So I come in with my darkest color at the very bottom, which was the B05, and then come in with the next lightest color all the way to the very lightest color, which was my B00. And then decided just to take that B00 and just go over that image one more time just to blend some more of those blues together, as well as color the B00 on the very top of the fish tank. Then I'm going to take that shadow die cut the fish tank, and now I'm ready to put my card together. So that striped pattern paper measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and then I have that pink strip which measures 1 by 5, and I'm just going to put the pink strip there towards the bottom of the striped paper and glue that right on. And I am going to be using a scalloped border die. So the scalloped border die that I'm using, I did die cut some pool cardstock from the Stamps of Life. And this scallop border die was from a previous card kit from the Stamps of Life, which I absolutely love this border die. I've used it in so many videos. And if you don't have this, you can just take maybe a piece of ribbon, or you can take just a straight edged border strip of cardstock and put it right over the line where the 2 pieces of paper meet. And here I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. So I'm just going to stamp it on the bottom of the pink paper. So I'm going to start with the last word in the sentiment, fantastic, and start that at the edge, the right edge of that card layer. And then I'm going to go to the next 2 words, you are, that's 1 complete stamp, so I'll stamp that right in front. And just stamp that out with some black ink. So now I'm just going to add the fish tank to the top portion of that card layer. And then I'm going to add the border right underneath it, just where those 2 pieces of pattern paper meet. And then it does extend beyond the edges, so I'm just going to flip that over and just trim off the excess. And that's going to go on a pool piece of cardstock. But before I do that, I'm just going to take this twine that I have. The twine is, it's like a blue and white striped twine, and I'm just going to wrap it around that card layer. And then I'm going to tie that in a bow. And then I'm just going to trim off the ends, and I will add an epoxy dot right to the center of that. And I do add a couple other epoxy dots in green to the left of the sentiment. And that entire layer is going to go on a piece of pool cardstock that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I decide I need to go ahead and add some hot glue underneath this epoxy dot just to keep this down. It also makes sure that epoxy dot doesn't go anywhere. And then that entire layer is going to go on an A2 size card base in powdered sugar. An A2 size card base measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And to finish off this card, I take my Spectrum Sparkle pen in the clear overlay and just add some of that sparkle to the fish tank. This is just a pen that you can go over your markers with and just add some glitter to anything that you've colored. and then that will complete this card. So if you have any questions, please let me know. All product links will be down in the description box and listed on my blog. And again, be sure to subscribe for more card making tutorials. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.